Welcome to Anime Talks. This is your host, Jay Klein, and it has been a little bit since we've came out with anything, and it's because I'm like in the middle of wrapping up Naruto and trying to get to Shippuden. But while we're on that topic there, I want to say if you haven't checked that out, definitely give it a look over. It's been out since 2005, but on to the next part of what we're here for. We're here for Sword of the Demon Hunter. Now, it's a really interesting anime that really kind of connects a lot of different things, and I would like to say that it's one of those hidden gems. Definitely one of those hidden gems. You gotta definitely like want to do some searching to come across it. Now, it did pop up for me to check it out, but needless to say, this is the season one coverage. Hopefully, we get season two, and we can kind of like touch base over there. But let's get straight down to it. Now, in Sword of the Demon Hunter, we actually follow a very interesting, and deep story that's it has a lot of different emotional grabs and all kind of different things in it. And with that being said, we're going to just touch right straight into our MC, and our MC is Jinya. Jinya is he's an orphan of a very powerful man, and he ends up watching his sister being and it's in the opening episode, which is pretty crazy on how deep the tones get straight from the rip. And what we see is Jinya watch his sister being abused physically by a lot of domestic violence that's portrayed or perpetrated onto his sister from their dad, and they end up running away and pretty much migrating across, like just wandering the world pretty much, or just wandering between city to city, and then they end up being found by a very nice man, which is pretty it's pretty sad. It is super sad. It makes you, it hits you it hits you hard. But they end up being found by Motoharu, and the Motoharu is a sentinel of Kadono, and in that village town, they have like it's kind of like a warrior and priestess kind of thing, where the priestess is like the one who pretty much keeps up with the village in a spiritual magical sense. And then you have the sentinel, which is the guardian. So we, while having that kind of thing go on, it's pretty interesting, and like how it builds up to that point. And with this podcast, I will be releasing a lot more information to kind of like give a concrete emotional value to the show, to kind of get you wrapped in, because the show is pretty deep. There's a lot of stuff going on, and this show goes through almost in a bunch of different elements revolving around time. So with that being said, you have the sentinel priestess little hierarchy going on. Now, the interesting portion about it is when they become adopted by Motoharu, which was Jinya and his little sister Suzune. It's huge. It's big. Eventually, those roles have now passed on to the children. The mother, the priestess, which is Motoharu's wife, she dies, and then Motoharu dies. The next people in line are both Shirayuki, which is the biological daughter of Motoharu, and Jinta becomes the new sentinel. Now, it goes without saying. It looks as if everything's going into works, but everything is so soonly disturbed by a lot of the demonic forces. Now that is the whole portion of where the demons come into play, where that's what the sentinel and the priestess is defending the village against. They're defending against any crazy demonic forces that are to arrive and cause trouble in the area. So with that being said, that is kind of like their portion of the job. You have the priestess that stays locked away, that sends the sentinels to handle and take care of whatever comes about the village. So eventually the story unfolds and turns into a huge mess when there's two deceptive demons that come into the village to reign terror and all kinds of different things, and they end up deceiving Suzune. And the craziest thing about Suzune is most definitely a demon, which is why she was abused as a child by her father. Her father despised demons because the father's wife was killed by a demon. So it is very, 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 very deeply connected, intertwined with very crazy interlocking pieces that over the course of the show is shown to us across all, I want to say we're like 14 episodes. Across those episodes, we learn so much is in that, and it makes you dig for it. And I like it. I love the way it makes you dig. But back into our story, when the village is attacked, there's a lot of other things that is going on within it. You have Shirayuki, which is the new Itsukihime. Where the Itsukihime is, by the way, the priestess role. And with Shirayuki, she is actually in love with Jinta, but Jinta is such a dedicated soldier, like logical mentality kind of guy. He rejects the thought of breaking the promise that they would step into the role of their parents and taking care of the village, and he doesn't want to betray that, which is a very interesting, noble move of his. But he rejects the idea of not taking care of the village, the same village that took him in and allowed him and his sister to be brought in as if they're family. And that's the way his mindset is. And Shirayuki, she's actually forced into an arranged marriage with the other sentinel. And with that being said, they normally only have one sentinel in this iteration. Now that it has normally the sentinel is somebody that is born and raised of the village of Kadono. But because of this situation, there's two sentinels. There's Jinta and Kiyomasa. Now, Kiyomasa's dad, which is kind of like a scribe kind of thing, he's just like part of the some part of royalty and like the hierarchy and whatever. He influences Shirayuki to end up passing on the role of being able to have somebody else take her spot when she passes. So there's a lot of arranged marriage and arranged conception kind of things. They're trying to have her and Kiyomasa have bear children to where she can be able to pass her role. Now, the only thing that is thrown off about this is that we do have Jinta, who's not even at the bit, feels like he's slighted by that. He puts his feelings second and puts his duty and roles first, which is pretty interesting. I really like the way he's has that soldier mentality and able to put that to the side to take care of the main threat and the main issue, which is allowing his emotions to get the best of him. So the deception and the betrayal, and this all happens so soon into the show's beginnings within the first 2 to 3 episodes. We do end up having we do have Doga no Oni, which is one of the 2 demons that enter the town. This demon is the one that approaches and fights Jinya. Now, and the reason why I'm going between Jinya and Jinta, there is a situation that does come about, which I will explain. But Tomi no Kijo is the other demon, which is the very heavy on the deception, and she manipulates Suzune and shows Suzune the end result of a different timeline happening, where it seems as if Shirayuki ends up betraying Jinta and being betrothed by Kiyomasa, which is not factual. The whole situation that is broken down behind the scenes that Suzune doesn't see is that there was a conversation between Shirayuki and Jinta where they did talk about their feelings and everything moving forward. But of course, Suzune, not being present, does not know this, and she is then manipulated and deceived by Tomi no Kijo. Now, that does lead to our paths finally spreading out and turning into a different method of everything that breaks apart. We do end up having Suzune, it becomes enraged, and because of that, she ends up changing completely and becoming like an adult like demon, which she has a childlike presence through our first couple episodes, and then after that she becomes full blown, just like full on demon. Anyways, now, in short, Suzune does end up killing Shirayuki. The second event that happens is between Doga and Jinta. They have their fight, and he ends up beating. He ends up beating Doga, but it comes at a cost at being able. He turns Jinta into a demon by using his arm to grasp a hold of him, and then now he becomes a demon himself. And Jinta now has pretty much the same lifespan as a demon. He has pretty much eternal life for the most part, and Doga's ability is to assimilate, so he can slay other demons and acquire their power and to be able to use it. And that goes without saying a big part of the show moving forward. Now, the craziest thing that happens further is, and that's pretty much like most of our main cast. There's not much to really even go into because the rest of the show, I don't want to give too much away, other than that was just a preface of how the rest of the show happens. Now, when Jinta makes it back to, after his Doga encounter, he goes to attempt to save Shirayuki. He makes it there in time. She runs to him. There's the death of Shirayuki, and right after that, the fight between Suzune and Jinta happens, and they're going back and forth. Everything's going so fast, and there's just a lot of emotion stirring up, and Jinta's really just distraught, and Suzune is still under the pretense of what she's seen. just calling Shirayuki all kinds of different names, and everything goes pretty much to crap. And it's pretty sad, to be honest, because it's more like you just didn't see most of that coming, and it makes you just kind of like, man, it's depressing because there's just so much deception and so many misleading situations there. You're just like, oh, it didn't have to go this way. But the new pact that's now made is Suzune leaves, and before she leaves, she does remind Jinta that she will seek her revenge and she will come back to kill him. Now that holds the weight of the rest of our show. That holds the weight of it. And that is what brings us to where we are moving forward with the show. Jinta goes across and renames himself as Genia because he wants to be referenced as a warrior, and he does not feel worthy enough to hold the mantle of being worthy of that town of Kadono. Now, the rest of the show is Jinta's travels, or now we can reference him as Genia. Genia's travels across the world, pretty much, and not I say the world, but between these neighboring cities, where he's just slaying demons and assimilating all these demonic powers, and making it to where he can eventually make it to where he eventually can move forward to try to find Suzune and kill Suzune as like a whole vengeance type of thing for murdering Shirayuki. Now, that within itself, the show is great. I love it. I wish there's a lot of other things I wish would have came about within that. I really do love the show. I do think that the biggest problem we do have with the show, where it can get really disturbing, is again, there's a lot of things going on in the show that makes you just a little nerve-wracking. And there's just a lot of violence, a lot of domestic violence that's going on. There is indications. I'm glad they don't show this, but I definitely don't recommend watching with children. We do have the issues of, like, there are rape situations that are discussed. They don't show, which I'm very glad for. Outside of that, I will say the show's really, really good. I really do love the show. It touches in different aspects of where we just have a lot, and I like the way the show really depicts everything. It makes you really excited for what's to come next, because you just want to know what's going to happen with Jinta. Jinta's life is unfolding in front of us piece by piece as the show breaks down. And every episode, and I hate to compare this to something that's more of real time, but more live action, is like Law and Order, SVU, by the way. It follows something along the lines of that, where, like, not every episode is necessarily connected. Like, let's just say episode 4 doesn't necessarily always tie straight into 5. It's like more like 4 has a little remnant, hangs over in 5, and then 6 connects 4 and 5 together. It does something like that, and it brings it out. There's always some type of deep element with every episode, where I'll use, for instance, kind of find out later on down the line, Genia meets Natsu, a little bratty girl who he ends up having to protect from a demon that was from her own emotion, that came born from her own emotions, of hatred and uncertainty. And kind of find out when he goes to protect this girl, her adopted father is his birth father. So he ends up meeting his father again later on, and his father never ends up realizing who he was this whole time, and he kept his guys as a Ronin, as a wandering Ronin. And I'm telling you that the show, it touches so many areas of life that's just so such a slice of life, while also having the elements of where it stands. I do really like how they handle it, and it's great. The show's great. It does what it needs to do, and season 1, I will say, does a lot. Now, be prepared. There are a lot of time skips throughout the whole situation. It is laid out. If you end up doing a little bit of reading on it, the show does span over the course of 170 years of Jinya's life. So that is very important to realize that that ends up being very important to know. But outside of that, it's great. The show's great. The time skips are very, very. They show where the time skips happen or the timeline jumps, because we end up being shown. We end up like living most of the season 1 through the Edo period, and then we end up jumping to like the Meiji period, and then finally we do jump into the like, I guess you could say, closer to now. Like what 2009 was like one of the last few time skips that occurred. Now, got to go to the ratings portion. What I would put this anime, if I had to choose, it would have to sit within, like, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. That's the bad part. When you really enjoy something, it's kind of hard to like give it a negative feedback on it. But this anime definitely sits. I won't say it's my favorite, but I will say the elements that was given, world building, is crazy. It follows a crazy good world building. You'll love the character development. And the biggest development that we do see over the course of season 1 is Jinya's ability to tap into his emotions a little bit and learn how to control them, because he pushed them off so long trying to just do his duty that he just was not living. He wasn't living, which is the course of the season 1's explanation. Live a little. Don't just settle for only doing what you're supposed to do, because that's not a life to live. And that's kind of what season 1 teaches us, and pretty much what's going on. And pretty much every supporting character's role in Jinya's life is to live. You don't have to just seek vengeance and where is it going to get you, kind of a thing. It touches a lot about morality and a lot of values and where things can go. Now, the only thing that I would say would be negative is we only have 12 episodes. That's really all I can say negative about it. I do like, I was able to follow it perfectly fine. If you're not a big fan of time skips that kind of just happen here and there, and they do jump back and forth sometimes within one episode, one of the later episodes, it does like time skip, flashback, everything all in one episode. So if you're not tracking all the events that happened in the few episodes beforehand, you will run into some problems. I do recommend definitely pay attention. Time skips do happen. There's like one episode that has a play of the events that are happening. Like it's a later episode where it's the future or later on, and it's a play talking about Jinya and supporting cast, and then it's a lot of stuff to catch up with. And it's one of those, if you weren't paying attention to everything beforehand, you will definitely get lost at the end. But show's good. Do not bypass it. You will love it. You will love every little bit of it. It's definitely not it's not, I'm not going to say it's not a side anime. It's definitely one that it can be on the side because we only got one season, but the show's good. So it requires a lot of paying attention to know what's going on. There's a lot of plot twists that happens all in the same episode. I feel like it's more of a suspense, not a suspense thriller, but like more like a suspense, supernatural esque thing. It definitely, they know how to layer a show. That's the best thing to say. They know how to layer a show, and they do it well, and I enjoyed that. They definitely they hit all the areas of a show that you need, and I cannot begin to imagine what season 2 is going to have. If push gonna shove, there's no season 2. I'm definitely going to go read it because they definitely did really great with giving you so much to like want to go find out. But outside of that, it's a good show. If I had to give it like a good rating, I'd have to give it like an 8.5 or 9 out of 10. And mainly the only thing that I have to say, and this is just for like constructive criticism, with the fact that I am looking at the overall reception of what other people may perceive wrong with it. The time skips can get kind of like really busy. It's a busy anime at some times, so where if you're not paying attention, you can miss it. Or there's a lot of times where it's one of those gotcha moments where you're just like, oh crap, this is what happened. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of times where like I watched this in the course of like a week and a half. So with watching it, I ran into a bunch of issues where I really wasn't sure if I seen what I saw. So I had to go back and watch some episodes to kind of like pick apart what made sense, because there's just a lot of, for one, the name usages that are going on in the show. There's a lot of names to keep up with for the most part. And there's a lot of falling back, intertwining plot points that when they cross, you're just like, okay, this happened. I don't remember it. I got to go back. So it's one of those things. It's not too bad. It's all reasonable. It's just for somebody like myself that like to keep up with everything that's going on and know what's current. It was a bit of a struggle for the most part, because I wanted to make sure that everybody was who I thought they were, and every plot point that happened really happened to the people it was supposed to happen to. There's just a lot of things that came back up, and I can't give too many examples because then it'll give the mystery away of how they tied it together. They did a great job with that. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna just say the owner of the food shop that he goes to regularly, that man there has probably one of the biggest plot points, a plot twist that a story can have, and it intertwines with somebody else who has their own story. You have to watch the show. They do such a good job where things just piggyback off of each other, and next thing you know, everybody's connected some kind of way. And I love that just digs deeper and deeper and deeper. But that's all I have for y'all today. Thank y'all so much for tuning into this episode. I do plan on having a lot more. I'm currently watching Naruto. That will not be covered at all. But I am watching. I parry everything. So hopefully, once I get a little bit further in that, we can kind of like dig a little bit on that, and maybe find something else along the way. Like always, definitely leave something for me in the comment section, or whatever Q&A, whatever you're listening to this through. Leave me something. Give me something to watch, to dive into. I have like a few more animes to like dig into as well. I have another Fate series that has that I'm pretty sure season 1's wrapped up. and Trigun or Stampede season 2 should be wrapped up by now as well, so I could be able to like watch it all and then give a review. And again, thank y'all so much for tuning in and getting this show to where it's at, because if it wasn't for y'all, wouldn't be doing this. So again, have an awesome and amazing anime, and that was play on words for the fact that it is the month of May. So enjoy as much anime as possible, and let's make it happen.